I'm so glad you moved that cord. Just the thought that your iPad would be resting on the cord. I don't know why that would bother me so much, but it really would.
I can't do it.
I literally would. I'd probably get up and move it because I'm like, I can't even look at it.
I found out from Rhett and Link, actually, it's called OCPD. It's not OCD.
All right, somebody figure out the P. Don't let them tell you. You know it's obsessive compulsive disorder.
I like
What's
it.
the P in there for now?
You got to do it quick. What do you got?
Go first.
Josh.
Obsessive compulsive
Particular.
disorder.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Obsessive
pretty good.
compulsive
Real good.
Permissive.
Okay.
disorder.
Okay.
Obsessive compulsive penis disorder because I think it's mostly with dudes.
I wanted to. I was going to say,
think
that
it's
was,
penis.
I didn't want to say
Everybody wanted
penal.
to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say
It's
it.
penis because it's mostly about guys.
Penal actually would have been better.
But that's legal.
It's like, yeah.
It's penile.
Yeah, you're in penile about it.
No, it's penal. They're just really obsessive about law.
Penile is penis-sized denial. Where guys are like, no, you're in penile.
Oh, you're in penile.
You're in penile.
Yeah. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
And it's simply the innate like impulsive desire to put stuff in order, not the like I gotta flip the switches on and
Right.
off 10
Makes
times
sense.
before I walk in a room.
Because I'm always like, we're all like, we got OCD, or there's always that one person like, you don't have OCD. That's a mental disorder.
CDO.
But we're like, but there is still the same, like, I feel like I need to fix this.
What's weird to
Except
me
your
though,
hair.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
what's weird to me is that when I first found out, it very genuinely was like, wait, I thought everybody felt like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that some people could just not give a rip if stuff isn't.
But there's a place in your life, right? Like all of us have a spot where you're like,
Oh, there's
I don't know
obviously
why that
lines.
is. Like
Yeah.
we're just like,
Yeah.
that space is fine if it's a total wreck.
Right.
And I don't know why. But this space, do not mess it up.
Well, yeah, and there's stuff that I would consider like no big deal that you'd have to fix.
Right.
It's weird though, because I thought that was just such a normal human experience. But then I thought like, oh, I guess there are people who just don't care. Like they don't care if stuff's out of order. They don't care if stuff is...
Is it people who are hoarders, it feels like...
No joke. That's literally what came to my mind is I was like, I wonder...
It feels like they don't care, but I think they care a lot. But we look at it and think, this is just madness. Have you ever walked through a home of a hoarder? Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
And
The
it's
hallways?
odd.
You walk down the aisles? Like,
Yeah,
you know, when they have
it's stacked all the way
yeah,
up
all
to
the way
the
up to
ceiling.
They
If you
actually
can
made-
walk.
Yeah. Well, some do. They have like aisles to get
There's
in and
that
out.
show Hoarders where you saw like there were certain places where they had to crawl over.
Yeah.
Like literally had to crawl over
Yep.
trash to get. And I'm like, it's unbelievable.
It's not that's not trash. That's their possessions.
The treasure.
Floyd, you got thoughts?
So your thinking is maybe a hoarder cares too much about too many things? Is that
No,
the
I'm
thought?
saying I think they care. I think it looks like they're throwing things willy-nilly, and I don't think they are.
Oh, I
think
think-
this is like, this
Yeah.
is the action figure pile. Even if it's not straightened, it's all the way I want it.
I would bet there are different ones, but I would imagine for the most. I know two legitimate hoarders that I could go to that I've been to their homes.
Yeah.
It's stacked up boxes. And they are organized in their minds. Like they have thought this through.
Yeah.
This is the way it works. And
I wanted to do a play on that word, but every version of what I was going to say sounded terrible.
I guess I can see it because if somebody walks into my desk at the house and they look at my desk, I'm sure it looks like chaos. But to me, I know where everything is.
But okay, do you?
that's
okay,
different.
well, no.
you keep
Do
a
you think
disorganized desk?
Do you think it's chaos?
Portions of it are disorganized.
So, okay, I'll say, like, it's different if you're like, they think it's chaos, I think it's organized, or if they think it's chaos, and you're like, it's chaos, but I know where things are going. You don't think
Yeah.
it's organized, though,
No,
right?
no,
Okay,
no.
there's a difference.
I mean,
you're not trying to convince somebody
it's
like, that
organized
madness
chaos.
is organized.
It's a very real disorder that is foreign to me. Well, it just dawned on me. I'm like,
you got super excited about
I'm
something.
I just literally I thought of somebody else and I was like, oh, I know three. That's literally what happened. From what I've heard, the people two that I know will tell you it's almost like they know they're a hoarder, but they don't think it's hoarding because but they've gone through counseling and so they kind of have.
Right.
Been led to recognize it. And they'll say things like, well, when I was a kid, I was abused and my parents would take all my stuff. And one of the people that I know, their parents would get in trouble with the law or different people. They would literally, in the middle of the night, get woken up. And this happened, they're like, it's not that it happened once. It happened multiple times. Wake up in the middle of the night. They would take the drawers out of their dressers, put it in the car, grab some blankets, get in the car, and take off. So they're like, I never got anything. I never had possessions. So when they got older, it was stuff like this sweater that I've had since I was, 24 is mine, and they won't get rid of it. They can't get rid of any possession because they're adults now, so they got to own something, and they know it, but they're also like, I get it. I still can't get rid of this sweater.
So what happened to the people who hoard newspapers and cats? I want to hear their backstory.
Exactly.
Especially the newspapers, because that was my old grandmother-in-law.
Newspapers. What could you hoard newspapers?
I mean,
when
like
you have that many cats.
Right? To sop up all the pee.
Yeah, you have that many cats, you need that many newspapers.
Then my neighbor was a level 5 hoarder, according to the government when they showed up, and she was hoarding cats with it. But I actually know somebody else.
How many dead cats were in there?
Were they
He
all
wouldn't
alive?
give me details, and I gruesomely wanted to know.
Yeah, were you young? Was it a long time
No,
ago?
this one.
No? Was this a long
I
time
lived
ago?
over on Herndon and Polk.
No, it was not.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
So, and I really wanted to know. And he's like, hey, Pastor. And I'm like, oh, hey. So that's why he saw us on TV or whatever. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, well, your neighbor here, that's the lady who gave me the pie.
Oh, I remember that. Yes, you told me that.
And I definitely had a like,
You got a bite?
That'd be a gross.
It was gross,
Yeah,
like-
he ate cat pie.
yeah. I
It's like
did.
Sweeney Todd. He lived a version of Sweeney
I
Todd.
did. But then I know somebody else that has, actually I know 2 people that have an entire home for cats. They own a
sorry.
separate home
So
for cats.
But I
like the government doesn't know.
Like
that
a
cats are in
mother-in-law
there.
suite?
I've
No,
heard
no,
that
a
too.
separate
No.
home
But I think they're
cats.
super wealthy. That's the difference. I don't think there is
You know, we're
You
telling
think
us
the
about a
cats are
guy
wealthy?
that has a separate place for his
a
dogs.
super expensive apartment for his dogs.
No, this is like 1,000 cats in there.
Oh, why?
No, this is, and by the way, the cats aren't wealthy. I don't even know how you gauge cat wealth. So
No, absolutely,
I
dude.
like
Have you ever
catnip.
seen a catnip dealer?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Catnip, they wear gold chains. They're really thuggish.
Yep.
that is such last year's collar. Look at this guy walking in here.
I can see, I guess, the PTSD response
Yeah.
or hoarding. I have that somewhat, not with hoarding. I went through a phase, and I still struggle a little bit. That
Yeah.
like,
Do you hoard anything?
No, I don't hoard anything, but I will compulsively buy. I will make purchases.
But then you have a pile of things you've compulsively
On your
bought.
desk.
No, because I'll get rid of stuff too.
Do you?
Oh yeah, I'll throw anything away.
Really?
I'm not hugely sentimental. I have one bookshelf in my office. That
No
has,
pictures
like,
of Trey. No pictures.
No,
of
no, I have
Celeste.
stuff like
Oh, you
that.
threw that
I feel
away.
like you're
I
very
throw it away.
sentimental.
But I mean, with
Yeah,
items,
I do
Why?
too.
That's
but with
interesting.
items, I'm not.
Oh, with items.
With items, I'm not super
Oh.
sentimental. I don't attach sentimentality to items.
Will you throw this shirt and underwear away knowing that they match Ryan today?
Yeah.
100%.
Thank you. I don't know how we haven't mentioned that. Josh, dang it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because
Can we
I
get a
have-
tight shot on his.
I have multiple matching pairs of shirts, t-shirts, and underwear. I do.
There's a big difference, though, of
He hoards underwear.
people who will wear a V-neck versus a crew neck. There's a different. There's a different type of. It's a different type of human.
Okay, but there's 2 types of V-necks. That's not the super deep one, at least.
That's. I would say
It's a
there's.
middle.
I would say there's 3 types.
He's
of V-neck.
middle,
It's a
isn't he?
lower
And that's
case.
He's going middle.
It's a
medium.
lowercase
Yeah.
V.
Yeah, because you can actually go crew neck, and it just has a little V in there for
Tiny
some
little
reason.
V. Yeah. And then there's the mid, which he's got the mid,
And then there's
the
Italian.
deep- yeah. There's the deep V.
the V-necks are actually something new for me.
Yeah?
Yeah, within about the last year and a half, probably.
Because none of the jokes I can say on the podcast. There's not one I can say.
Because
Oh,
a
speaking
ring.
of cats.
Yeah, I just saw Kelly pop out the door. She's choking a cat.
So okay, you don't hoard anything. Here's the best part. She loves cats so much that's not funny to her.
Not
Like,
even-
I love
not even a tiny
people
bit.
who love something so much.
Yeah.
There's no humor in it.
She has
would
none.
cry.
There's no humor in it.
She would cry.
I have cracked probably 5 cat jokes to her.
Landed horribly.
One time, she goes, Pastor. One time. The other 4 were like,
Yeah.
No, you think
Like
she said
side-eye
pastor?
looking
She
at me.
said you.
it's probably
Yeah.
true.
That's-
That's not
that's
wrong.
different.
You can joke
It's
about
synonymous. It's
cats, but
I was going to
nothing-
say,
no harm to
there
them.
was a way, I remember it because
Space Cat was
I was
fine.
testing it
Space
for
Cat,
so
yeah.
long because
Yeah.
I was like, but they were all dark jokes.
Yeah.
But they're like, I found that the niche was like, you could say a dark joke about a cat that she doesn't know.
Yeah.
That what it was so funny. I'm like, I had like a whole thing where I was like, oh, I did it. I finally got it. And then I went,
Not
oh,
a
okay.
cat that she doesn't know.
Yeah.
That's No, it's
like,
true, and she does know cats.
She has her, yeah.
Oh, she knows cats.
She's it's actually been a while since she's walked around with a cat backpack with a space bulb.
Space
That's
cat.
'cause I think
Space cat in the backpack.
He's
Yeah.
sick or something.
I love
like that.
Space Cat.
Yeah.
Space Cat did get sick, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Well,
fine now.
Maybe stop sending it to space. You're gonna get
Although
the bins.
I think Space Cat's fine because there was a destroyed bird in front of the church the other day.
Yeah.
We know who that was.
I wonder what happened to that bird. The
She
bird
would-
went from the trash can. Okay. Did you? Gosh dang it. We have so many topics. It hit me. I want to talk about how we should respond as pastors to people with
Hoarding.
Hoarding.
Okay.
Okay.
Noted.
But first, the cat. This is the train of thoughts. Okay. The bird was in the bushes.
Yeah. And
All of
it
a sudden,
wasn't.
I saw a camera where the bird was on the concrete, and then the next shot was at 1:30 in the morning the other night, where I got a Ring app, and I was like, "Oh, Kelly's probably leaving the building." I always check if I'm awake, just because I'm like, just want to make sure she's okay. So I click on. There's a homeless dude starting a fire on our front porch,
Are you serious?
and I
missed
mean,
that.
Wait.
Oh,
wait.
we'll go back.
Survivor style? Because if he's using
Or did he
flint
have a? Did he have a
some straw.
No, here's what
I'm
I didn't
impressed.
understand. He's got a shopping cart. He has a mini tent city half set up in our front area. And I go, "Hey man, here's not a good area to this isn't a good place to start a fire."
Was he using the Easter banner for a tent?
Might have been.
No,
we
I don't
never
think
found
so,
the
but
Easter
that's
Banner Thief.
interesting.
That would make a good tent.
That's actually a good episode of Sherlock Holmes, Easter Banner Thief. So go ahead.
Yeah.
So what happened? What did you hear? Did you freak him out?
So, oh, dude, I was gonna say I wish I had it recorded. I clearly have it recorded.
Yeah.
We'll go back and watch it, but it's. I know that I probably shouldn't be laughing about this, but it scared him so much. He's holding some rubber hose looking thing, and it looks like he's lighting that on fire. And so I'm like, pretty sure that's not what was going on. I go, "Hey man, here's not a good place to start a fire." And he goes, "Oh, son of a, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Right there, tell me where to start a fire." And then he mumbles for 4 minutes.
That's amazing.
And it's all recorded, and I'm dying laughing at sitting at home. And then he walks around, and I was about to say, you can't
Police
be
are on
here.
their way.
But he started to clean up. And I was going to, I thought I'd have to call the cops. I didn't. He just started cleaning up, so I didn't call anybody, and I just let him clean up. He starts walking around picking up his stuff. He's got an ice chest, a cooler with ice in it, and food, and he starts putting stuff away. Goes over here, grabs a few candles that he had lit over in the corner.
Oh, that's great.
Blows the candles out. I was like, what is happening right now?
Ruined his date
Amazing.
night.
Dude, he legit, that's what I said. I was like, oh, he had a girl coming over. Man, that's on me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dude.
He was making a meal.
Yes. 100%. Which led me to think, I want to talk about how we should respond as pastors to the to the homeless population around here, being that we've had and then I had another encounter this morning. So I think I don't know why it's increasing the number.
Let's start with hoarders.
Let's start with hoarders.
Before we get into all that,
Oh, that's-
welcome to You Won't Hate It, where we talk about life through the lens of pastors at the length of a cigar. I'm Josh.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Floyd.
I'm hoarder. I am curious. Is there anything that you would hoard before we deal with hoarding? What would be honestly, if you thought
I would bet you money
What would
that
be
each of
hoarding?
us have currently right now a
something too
level
much
of hoarding.
There's something I don't.
I bet you.
I can tell you right now. I have more shoes than I'll ever need.
Oh, shoes.
Just and I don't
Okay,
even know
this
why.
is
It's collecting.
And
I
that's
was
it's because
gonna
I don't
say-
throw them away. I
We
think that's my
might
problem.
need to make a
Well, I was gonna
distinction
say-
between the
Did
level
I just-
of
did I just-
hoarding
Because we are
versus-
discussing a disorder.
But I
too.
also
We
am
should be
talking to-
considering-
I'm
I was
also-
just going to say that. Yeah.
I'm also talking to two clear shoe hoarders. So I love that they're like, hold on. Because I don't have nearly as many shoes as either of you.
I
so
bet
I've
you have
touched
more.
a nerve.
I bet you have more shoes than me.
I don't think so.
I bet you do.
How many shoes do you think you have? Now,
Ryan,
the difference between the ones I wear and the ones I have is weird. I don't wear that many
The
shoes.
number of golf shoes you have.
Number
Yeah.
of pairs. by
No,
the way.
I have one pair of golf shoes. I have 2 pairs of golf shoes, 3 pairs of golf shoes. I was counting in my head. I was counting as I went.
I was having a conversation with Christine Simon last Sunday, and she's like, "Yeah, I only own 5 pairs of shoes," and I was like, "Oh, I own 5 pairs of golf shoes."
I have a buddy, Ronson. You know Ronson.
Yeah, I
he
know Ronson.
probably has 15 pairs of golf cleats, and they're all freaking awesome. Every one of them, I'm
Trey.
like,
See, here's my
and
problem.
they're expensive. At
Trey.
times.
a couple-
Trey has multiple pairs of the Jordan. I think he has 2 pairs of the Jordan
So I
shoes.
I
bunch
keep
of-
wanting to buy the Jordans, but I feel weird because I'm like, so many people have them, but then I go,
They're
they're
so
golf
comfortable.
cleats.
They're
Like,
so
who cares
comfortable.
if people have them?
Again, the discernment between collecting and hoarding.
Yes.
So-
Or just having a lot of. So I wouldn't say that you or I or Floyd or anybody, Josh clearly because he has 1 pair of boots.
Right.
I wouldn't say we hoard any
I've
cleats.
accumulated a
Of
lot
shoes.
of shoes. How
Yeah,
about that?
which is
Yeah.
totally different. And there might, again, we're talking about a disorder. And so there might be something in us where it's like, well, I know I'm never going to wear these, but I'm also not going to get rid of them. So that could probably be, there's probably something there. And we're probably not talking about actually hoarding.
No.
If we're honest.
I said
again,
if you would, if there, if you would.
Or what is something you have too much of
I have too
that
many
you know
shoes.
you do?
Just stuff, man.
How many shoes do you
Just
have?
stuff.
Ryan?
God,
I'll
you
get
sound
to
like
the
such a
bottom
hippie
line it.
right now.
Yeah.
Just stuff,
You know,
man.
material stuff.
Bottom line
It's
it.
just not
Ryan and
even real.
Floyd, how many shoes do you have?
Okay, this is going to make for terrible.
And it's a wild guess. I'm sure unless you know how many shoes you have.
I do. I can count in my head because they're all.
We saw
in
how
my
that went with the
closet.
cleats. I got
This,
one,
this
two,
is going to
three.
take me a sec.
All right, Floyd, what do you got?
I probably have at least 40 pair.
40 pairs of shoes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I have like 6 pairs.
that's impressive.
I have like 6 pairs of sandals.
Yeah.
Wow. You could have like a
Josh.
shoe channel.
Josh, you were living on the streets not that long ago, so the fact that you don't have 90 pairs of shoes makes sense. Well, as soon as you get a space,
No, when I had-
long-term
okay,
home,
during
you
high-
just keep buying stuff.
know
From high
what's
school to
interesting?
college,
Let's-
I had a dozen.
Let's quantify those.
Because I used to
He wears
skate and I used to collect skater
$300
shoes.
boots.
I just realized I'm like, there's no way I have 40.
You have more than 40.
No way. But it's probably close. And here's
Probably
and it's
about
only
40.
because I've got
Where do you put them?
but I've got 5 pairs of flip flops.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll
Those are
stack up.
shoes.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
and they all
Those are
stack
shoes.
up, but
Yeah.
those are shoes.
I have 2 pairs of Chucks.
And I have 5 pairs of work shoes because I have my pair of work boots.
I can understand that though, because it's like I like these color, like
For
the color
sure.
these. Like
Oh,
the
I'm
color
sorry. I have
these.
3 pairs of Chucks.
If I ever had, I actually wish Vans don't fit my feet. They look like I have boats on my feet. They're huge.
You know, they wouldn't work.
No, they do not.
Yeah.
I like that you think it's the
Converse.
Vans that make your feet look big.
It's your feet.
Sure. No, I have very petite feet. Yeah, the
big feet.
The Vans.
My
make it look
feet are so small. But I put the Vans on.
These Vans.
Oh my gosh.
I have a couple pairs of Vans.
I would. What's funny is I've always wished I could find because I've tried Converse and Vans and I think they're cool. They just don't fit. I would have gone nuts if they did fit because I think they're so cool.
And there's so many
Converse,
variations.
Chucks, maybe.
Yeah.
They don't.
Well,
I've
Vans,
tried.
Vans have so many variations. They
Yeah.
do.
Like
well, and then
the-
I would be the custom guy. I actually
Yeah.
just went on. Joe found a pair of Nike boots.
Yeah.
Tactical boots.
They're pretty cool.
So I went online because I was like, oh, I'm curious as to. I didn't even know Nike made tack boots.
Yeah.
So I go look them up, and then right next to it, there's other stuff, and they're like, oh, customize the shoe, and I was like, oh, I forgot you could easily customize
anything.
shoes now.
Yeah.
And I thought if I found
On
a
the
pair
Nike
that I-
website?
yeah, and you click on it,
Vans too.
and you pick everything.
So Trey and Mika have done
And the
that.
upgrade's like
for-
$25.
It's
It's
not even
nothing,
crazy.
dude.
Trey and Mika have done that for Steph. She has a pair of sunflower Vans that say GG on the back.
Yeah, that's cute.
And they've done a couple pairs for themselves as well.
It's like baby.
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 I have. I just realized I have like 3 pairs that I've never worn or worn once maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, Ash has bought me 2 shoes that she knew I wanted that were not like expensive. They were Cole Haans. They're super nice, but they're from like Nordstrom
I love
Rack or
Cole
something.
Haans.
Cole
Cole Haans
Haans,
are
beautiful.
I've never even bought them. I keep finding at Nordstrom Rack all the shoes I like. I look Cole
Yeah.
Haans. Cole Haans.
Dude, Cole Haans.
They have the Adidas soles. I know they use some sort of athletic sole, but like a
Adidas?
dress shoe.
Adidas. So because I do have a lot of shoes, my closet is actually pretty small. I don't have like a big walk-in like I used to, so it's pretty small. So I actually I had to build a second shelf because I was like, I want to keep a handful of these shoes.
How many of those shoes do you wear? Let's start with that. Let's start with usage. Let's start with, do you actually use these shoes? What shoes are you just like, they're there and actually never wear them?
So it's funny. I only know this because spring. You get that spring cleaning kind of bug.
Yeah.
So I recently went through and made 2 bags full of donation clothes.
Nice.
And there were a handful of shoes in there.
Yeah.
But
We need
I wear a lot more than I thought because I was
Yeah.
going through and I'm like, this sounds funny, but I have 2 pairs of work flip flops that I work in because when it's hot out, I want to wear flip flops.
Rainbows?
Because you want to lose a toe.
No, I don't wear rainbows anymore. They're my old. So what's funny is that I always buy these
Osani?
new Olukais.
Olukais.
So Olukais are unbelievable. They're the most comfortable
Never heard of
sandal in the world. They're all Hawaiian. They're amazing. And when they get old, they become my work flip flops. So it's kind of fun.
That's
So
why-
I have 3 new ones and 2
I
old
think we
ones.
might need to change this subject because I just realized 40's probably low.
Oh, I think it is.
Because I'm
Floyd-
just thinking about
Yeah.
boots.
all
I
your
probably have 7
work
pairs of boots.
Birkenstocks, Floyd? I mean, how many of those?
I
you got?
only have 1 pair of work Birkenstocks, Joe.
You have
And he works them.
Birkenstocks.
Yeah.
I work those.
He does work
That's
some.
right. It's probably shoes I have the most of.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Because I keep getting rid of shirts, pants, and stuff like that. Like I have no attachment to that for some reason. But shoes, I think the problem is I can't get rid of them. Like I don't know why I'm keeping these. I'm like, there's a few I looked at. I'm like, when am I ever wearing those again? I'm like, you never know.
Shoes. You can't get rid of the shoes.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, you might, and they're not even expensive shoes. They're just I have probably 25 different dress shoes.
Right.
Then probably 15, 20 Vans.
Okay, so they're not expensive. This is
Interesting.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't do that. I was going to say, what's your most expensive pair of shoes?
I don't have that. These Uggs.
No way.
Some of your
you have
dress
a pair
shoes
of
have
Oh,
to be more than that.
okay.
Yeah.
Those the custom made dress
Yeah.
shoes are probably super
The
expensive.
blue ones with the red
Yeah,
laces,
those are
nice.
Those are, probably
Those are
expensive.
super
I didn't pay for them, so I didn't think about it. I paid for these.
What's funny is because of those, I actually went and bought a pair of blue suede shoes with red piping.
Oh, nice.
And I was super excited
It's great.
because it was yours, and I was like, "There's nothing better than red piping on
it's
car
great.
interior, you name it." It's
the
my
Lexus
favorite.
that has the red piping
Yep.
on the
I love
it's
it.
gorgeous,
It's
man.
so good.
So I went out and bought them,
RSX?
but they're dirt cheap.
RSX.
Yeah.
I bought I found them on Amazon. They're not super comfortable, but they're not bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Get through a couple hours on a Sunday.
They're Amazon.
Yeah,
they're
easy.
Amazon brand.
no, they just bought
Oh,
from
oh,
Amazon.
okay.
And I don't remember the brand. Whoa, this is what's funny. I bought a lot of shoes on Amazon because you can send them back, so who cares? They come in, they're like RZF is the brand, some random brand that you've never heard of. They come, I put them on, and I'm like, oh, it feels like in the sole. I'm like, I could feel something, so I take them off. The brand was a sticker on the inside of the insert on the shoe. So I pulled it off. Totally different brand name underneath.
It wasn't.
No.
Oh, you're kidding.
They had just and I'm like, I bet it was one company that went under. They bought all their, but
Like, how do we make this work?
freaking put a
genius.
sticker on it.
I think
That's
you and I have a
genius.
couple of pairs of boots from Amazon. Same thing, $35.
It's hard to
Oh,
beat.
my tack boots are from Amazon. They're $30 and they're amazing.
It
Those
is-
are only $30.
Yeah.
those are
$30.
great.
And
I like your tack boots.
They're great. They're in great shape.
You've worn them for like 2 years.
They
right?
have
Yeah.
2 years.
When I worked at the travel agency, I went through a phase of getting nothing but wingtips and Oxfords.
Oh, really?
And a lot of them, ones that had like athletic soles on them and
Yeah.
stuff.
Fun.
And just collecting all that. And then obviously,
What'd you do with
That's
them?
why I went homeless. I spent too much
What
on shoes.
happened to them? Like, what did you do?
I ended
when
up
you-
just donating them because I didn't wear them all the time. I would just wear them out. And
There is a reason you went homeless.
yeah.
I don't think anybody classifies as a hoarder, but
No.
there is probably. I'm looking at it like I could do some sprinkling.
Well,
that's probably where I'm
for
at with all of
sure.
it. I could do some
And
sprinkling.
the reason I said stuff
Donate some stuff.
is because when I had
Yeah, you
storage,
do.
when I was houseless and I had all my stuff in storage, dude, I would try to throw stuff out all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I got so much crap in here.
It's
How does
surprising.
one human collect so much stuff?
Yeah.
Just any empty space.
You know what's weirder too is
We
when
just-
you
we
get
fill
a
it.
Fill it.
I don't know
This
why.
this is gonna sound like it's pointed at you, but like when you
No.
get a family,
Yeah.
a wife, and
No, you're definitely pointing at him.
yeah. But like, tell me how weird it is that your kids it takes so much time to then go through it.
Right.
So you end up just putting it in a box or a bin and you stuff
I'll
it
deal with it
somewhere.
later.
And then you realize one day, like, I've never dealt with, and it's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right. Like, it's just stuff, junk. People buy your kids toys that nobody wants.
Yeah.
And it just starts to pile up, and you're like, dude. And I'm in that zone right now because
How many of you have papers? Stuff that you've written down.
Oh, no.
I don't know why.
that's Ashley's gig. Ashley has
I've gotten
two
it down.
bins.
I got down to a couple boxes.
I have a bin.
But I'm
I have
like,
a bin of
why am I
but it's like
keeping this?
documents.
So
and everything.
Ashley has two bins full of high school homework.
No.
Oh no.
And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm a geographer. Like I might need. And I go, you think you're gonna need your high school essay on Spain? Like,
I get that a little bit, but I have everything that I've ever done. I have every paper that I've ever written in my college career, but they're all in digital format on an external hard drive. I
Good.
have
So
a school
it's
folder.
just a smaller pile of worthless.
But it's the same
stuff.
stuff.
this big.
Yeah, it's
So, I mean, the
There's got
point
a
still
bunch of stuff
stands.
on
You're
it.
just
It's
better at
still
you're better at
digital
packing.
stuff,
Because it
man.
really is worthless.
I have
I
a
still have.
stack
Do you have your old sermons?
So
I have a
you
stack of DVDs.
I have a bunch
You know
of
the
old-
old
yeah.
little circle, like you know what I
Yes.
mean, like a stack
Wait,
of DVDs.
explain
wait.
DVDs.
What shape is a DVD?
Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm defending me and Ashley.
There's
for a
young
second.
people.
Wait.
There's young people out
It's a
there.
circle. A DVD is a.
They don't know what it is.
circle.
They don't know what it is.
They probably don't.
So with new technology, right? You can search any phrase and it will search all of those papers. And I've gone back and pulled out citations from previous papers.
You were citing yourself. The problem is
I was finding a specific citation that I used.
Oh,
in
I
a
see what
paper.
you're saying. I see what you're saying.
I have
Here's the-
notebooks of old songs.
So wait a minute. After you get your doctorate,
I have raps, Josh.
are you going to still keep it?
Notebooks of him.
No, I probably won't.
I think-
Because
Do you
Really?
think
I
you're
think you
going to
just talked
actually
him into it.
delete it?
I think you just talked him
that
into it.
sounds hard.
I do- I
It
think-
sounds
I think
hard.
you
That
just-
sounds
you just
hard.
talked him into
If
it.
it was boxes of stuff, I could see getting rid of it.
That's what I want. Like, why? Why is it
Yeah.
difficult?
I don't know.
Because it's sentimental for crying out loud. That's why.
I don't know if that one's so much sentimental as I think of all of the hours and hours and hours of work I put
All
into
6 of those hours?
All 6 hours I
Yeah.
put into that.
All right, I was about to give you a crap, but I realized I have Gmail accounts and I do the same thing and I throw sermons in there, like I email them to them. And I'm like, and
you're
I've never
about to give
preached
me-
the same sermon again, but sometimes there's research in there
I did that.
that I like.
when
That I was like,
You have honestly gone back and looked at your old stuff.
you just search it in my search bar. I just
But
go,
I'm saying, that's what I'm
Super
saying.
easy.
You
if
really
I
have?
feel like it's always if it's historical data that I can't find easily online, I'm like, I just go back and say I can't
But you're like,
find.
I know I said this. at
Yeah,
some point.
or no, like I know I referenced this,
Yeah.
and it's about like when I was doing the resurrection stuff, I don't gather all that material again. I go back to the place where I've already gathered that material.
Yeah. So
It's a lot of historical research.
Recently, I went back. I remember, and I can't remember what the sermon was. It was on propitiation or something like that. And I remember being like, oh, I preached a big series on what I called the big four: justification, redemption, propitiation, sanctification. And so I went and I was like, I preached massive. I remember it. I went back, found it. It was paper. Like I had to go back in this bucket. And I'm reading through it and I'm like, I don't even know if I believe half this anymore. Like, and it wasn't well written.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like me anymore, and I didn't use it one bit because I went back to God. What do you want me to say? So if it was like historical data, it's like that's not Holy
It's not
Spirit
changing.
inspired. Yeah, it's so I could see that being a thing.
And I couldn't find it online. Like
Yeah,
I was looking
when
for
I
it
left-
already. So
well,
I
it's
was
hard
like,
to find something online that you made up.
Yeah, that's right.
Like that's the hardest
That's
part.
right.
It's like if I made this up 20 years ago.
That's right.
When I left my last full-time pastorate, I threw away, because at that point it was all paper, a couple of boxes full of paper sermons.
Feels weird.
It does feel
I will
weird.
say,
but I
I
didn't
like-
think I was ever going back into ministry.
Yeah, you haven't. You're
Lisa
not.
pulled out an old bulletin from the first church we planted.
Oh no way!
And
What's a bulletin?
we were using ring bearer font. And at the time, this is a long time ago, so we thought we were cool using ring bearer font.
Genius, man.
And I don't know who it was. I'm assuming it was Katie Nelson if she's watching this. She went and she just Lord of the Rings the entire bulletin. And like every Lord of the Rings reference, just redid a bulletin and just made it all like Gollum and Sauron. Like she just, and we found it. I'm like, this took so much work and it's so good.
There and back again.
Yeah, I
A
was like-
Christian's tale.
Yes.
It's so
I
funny.
want to, is that doing an entire message on propitiation? That sounds difficult, but then the more I think about it, I would like to hear that. Is that anywhere where I could find it?
I have literally it's all on paper.
No,
Oh, so you
I don't
do
want,
have-
I don't want to read it.
Oh, you know, I
wanna
still
see it.
have one bin full of, you know what's funny is it just dawned on me, those were all recorded. I still have a binder full of CDs, or did I throw
What's a
those
CD
out?
look like?
What shape
A CD
is
is
it?
around,
What shape
if
is
you
it?
know what a DVD is, you also know what a CD is.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then yeah.
I just showed them
Yeah.
what a DVD was.
And
They're
then
fine.
I'll never forget the day I got a digital, it was a Tascam recorder, and it was made for musicians. It wasn't for, but I was like, but I was so hip that I got that versus like the one for just speaking. And I would clip it on my pants, and I had a lapel, or a little lapel mic, and I would preach and I would record those. That way I could digitally put them on a computer, which was a giant desktop monster,
Right.
Yeah.
And I would upload it that way, but I freaking,
What'd you do with it when you uploaded it?
it went on some. Back in the day when I was preaching, 5-6 times a week, I had a pretty big group that I would send stuff to, and that
Right.
I got asked by some Christian magazine, I forget the name.
Stop doing that.
Well, yeah, they were like, "Can you?" They wrote me all the time.
Please
Could you
stop
stop
sending
sending
us
us
Stop
stuff?"
sending us
Floyd.
this.
No. Here's
the
the
win.
sermon. Hey, stop sending us stuff.
That is
And so I would
good.
send stuff all the time, but it was just so fun back then. And now I'm like, I don't want anything recorded. That's what's funny. I say too many stupid things.
And everything we do
I
is
know.
recorded all the time.
I have like a box full of old raps. Like he was saying, his
Yeah.
song lyrics. I have just notebooks of old raps.
Notebooks.
Do you really?
Why?
So
what am I doing with
I have
those?
drawings in.
I don't know why, and I will not get rid of that.
Do you think, I actually think it might be fun for our kids when they get old enough, they have their own families, to look through our old crap, or is that stupid?
To make fun of Joe for being a rapper?
Yeah, no, that's
100%.
actually
No,
fun. I actually think that's fun to go back and see that.
It'd probably be hilarious.
Could
And
you
I have-
imagine Jade reading, like, in 20 years?
Yeah.
Jade's reading your old raps from the
And I have
70s?
my journals from when I first got saved. Like I've kept
Oh,
those.
that would be.
So I've kept all those.
I do have my old journals
Stuff like
too.
that. Yeah.
It's like
have
it is interesting to go back and be like, first of all, I have the worst handwriting on the planet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. When
And
I first,
second of all, I'm very unfamiliar with grammar.
when I first got
I'm
sober,
like, what?
I have a notebook from my rehab, and I still occasionally, because
Do they encourage that?
Oh yeah. Journaling
Okay,
is important.
That's why, because every addict I know, every person in recovery I know has a notebook, and currently there's a guy who has a notebook that's awesome, who shows it to me all the time.
Oh,
well, it's
I
full
have a-
now.
shows it to
It's
you.
full now.
I have a journal.
It is
I have
full now.
journals from my reconstruction of my faith period. I
Yeah,
did
you
that.
should. I can think of, I have one journal. I have a lot of, journaling was always that thing that you were supposed to do when you were a kid, right? Like if you were a Christian, you're just supposed to journal.
Yeah.
So I went through stages of I journal every day for 2 years, then I wouldn't journal for a year. And I remember, because I've got a couple journals when my faith got really, we'll call it charismatic.
Yeah.
And I have pictures, like drawn visions that I would have, and it's so funny because I kind of want to go back and look at
I'd
them and
love
be
for it
like,
to be a picture of
is that a
this.
vision?
I'd love for it to just be like, it looks like 4 guys with headsets on
Wouldn't
around
that be funny?
microphones.
Yeah,
You'd be
yeah.
like, what?
Which reminds me, there's a part, I'm preaching on this on Sunday. It's just made me think of that. And Jesus, it's when he calls out Judas at the Last Supper. And in John, he actually says, I'm only saying this so that you guys will believe when it comes true later.
That's awesome.
He actually says it. And I was like, what a weird, it was the weirdest, like, he knew full well this will mean nothing to you at the time.
Right.
But he goes like, just so that later you're going to believe.
And I
was
love
like,
that
so
is
interesting.
recorded for us.
And I love,
know.
and
I
I
think it's
love
cool.
that it's generous to him to be like, I want to help you.
Yeah.
Later on, like this is gonna be a help.
Not
It's like,
weird.
like,
Faith, yeah.
all right, I want to make sure we actually finish the topic
Yeah,
here.
it's a good point.
How do we want to address hoarders? I don't know if we've solved anything about our own hoardingness in our life, but
you brushed on it. Like, it just makes me think about how impactful our childhoods are, our environment is, how we're raised. You know more about the psychology of it than any of us.
Just check his notebooks.
Just check his notebooks.
So I had
I'm
a
just
choice
curious
to
of
make.
that.
I was either going to say what I said or make that noise, and I went with mine.
So I'm just curious.
went with
of
yours
that.
on.
It constantly fascinating to me how stuff that I have delved into with my past and like how it's discerned how I operate now, and people that we meet in ministry, how it's like, oh, this is stuff that's reached back to your childhood, and it's
that's-
always that way.
So what would be that? What would be then the advice? So observing that, what would you advise?
Come to terms with it.
Yeah.
Like, get it out there. And I think that's part of journaling as well as counseling. You work towards acceptance, and then you work, bringing that to God. Like, just pray about it. Like, this is what happened to me. This is how I feel about
Yeah.
myself. What do I do with this, Lord?
What you had just said about like how impactful childhood is, it makes it. I've been noticing this recently. It makes it even more terrifying to raise kids. Like I'm a little
Pointing at
older.
you again, Josh.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pointing at you.
Well, you
Too
got a
late
lot
for
of
us.
kids.
I haven't raised them.
to raise. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah,
Is
quit
I'm
abandoning
more
them.
calling you out.
I have been absent.
My kids are younger, and I'm a little bit older. We waited, and so I had kids later in our society, I guess later. And it's weird because I'm like, I see the benefit of doing it when you're really young because you're very stupid. You don't know what you're doing.
You
You're
don't know
just-
what you don't know.
Yeah. And so and it's kind of weird now being older because I'm like, oh, shoot, I can ruin this kid. Raising my voice too much at the wrong time, little stuff like that. And I'm so mindful of it now.
Yeah.
I heard probably the best piece of parenting advice I'd ever heard in my life was from a guy on the Joe Rogan show. And he said his buddy told him this. So this is like 9 people removed from me. He said, imagine yourself 80 years old going back in time, and this is the only moment you have with your kid. So when you get all pissed off about that thing that your kid did and you're ready to just lose your mind, imagine yourself being 80 and this is the only time you can go back to and have with your kid. How would you respond? And I was like,
good.
whew.
It's good context.
Like I actually thought, what a great, it just puts it in perspective. Because you do get mad about stupid things, but then you go, oh, if this was the only moment I had, I wouldn't care as much about the thing they did bad. Or you just realize it's a great teaching moment,
Right.
And
see
you teach
how
differently.
how do you benefit your kid in the moment, as
Exactly.
opposed to how do you scratch the itch of being angry?
Yep. And I thought, man, it was so powerful for me. I thought it was
And
huge.
so much happens during the developmental period. And that's the fear, right? Is that you're going to do something during that time that's going to create somebody with severe mental disorders in the future. But the thing is that we have to remember is by and large, kids are resilient. They really, really are. Your kids are amazing. Steph and I had the conversation yesterday. Your kids are amazing, man.
Oh, thank you, dude.
You and Ashley are doing an incredible job raising your
awesome.
boys. They're
Thank you.
incredibly fun to be around, super intelligent. They're great kids.
Fell out of a tree.
They're fine.
They
pushed
fall
him
out of a lot. They fall out of a lot.
They're
of trees.
resilient. They bounce back
They
up.
broke a TV standing 1 foot from it. Let's slow down a little bit.
I can't wait to hear that story.
Kung Fu, man.
So
Kung Fu.
Just
so irritating.
Kids are resilient by and large. Kids are resilient. And but there are things that happen during the developmental process when trauma happens, and it's usually not the parent that causes the trauma. It's the police coming in, and that's what created the hoarder. The parents have the opportunity to reconcile the issues that we create by and large. And as long as a parent will own their issues, I screwed up a ton as a father. Cleet was born right after my 21st birthday. I was young. I was a kid.
Wow. Yeah.
I was a kid. I
That's
didn't know
young.
what I was doing.
That's young.
And I screwed up a lot, but I always did my best to own my issues. And so I think as long as you do that, you can correct most of the things that would turn into something debilitating.
I agree. I think the ability to communicate with your child, to apologize. But what do you do now, fast forward that kid or person has been through trauma, as a pastor? So a large percentage of our congregation is in recovery. How, as a pastor, and I've been told this was super interesting, since Easter, I've been told by 2 separate local pastors who said, I watch your guys' church online. I love your church so much. And they said, please keep doing what you're doing. We need you in this community because no other church is reaching the demographic you guys are. And I was like, dude, it was actually really meaningful because their pastors, and I immediately cracked a joke and I was like, oh yeah, because you don't take them into your church because they don't have any money.
Right.
And it's because that's we almost went under because our congregation it's difficult for them to support the ministry that we
It was
do.
very nice of Mark Driscoll and James McDonald to reach out to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were cool
very
dudes.
kind to
I
them.
think
too.
the way that you address it, Joe and I were in a conversation yesterday with a young lady here, and Joe and I both had the exact same response. She said, I'm so stupid. And I said, no, you're not stupid. You did a stupid thing. You had a stupid action. Stop identifying as your issue.
That was a good line that you gave her. I thought you did a good job with that.
I think that's the key for everyone. Stop identifying as your issue, right? Shocking that for us, it comes back to an identity issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Let the issue be the issue, and now move on from the issue.
When do you feel like you're talking to yourself?
All the time.
Okay,
All the time.
just checking.
Yeah,
the
right.
reason
Because we had to have that conversation with you is my favorite
That's
part.
right. That's right.
the reason why I can say it so emphatically,
with conviction.
is that it's something that you slip back into it.
For sure.
Like I feel like I'm better, but you still slip back into it. Stop identifying as the issue.
Well, you
But
can't take someone you haven't been.
Well,
That's right.
And I think
That was actually, I learned that as pretty young, and that was so powerful where I'm
Sure.
like, what's funny is that caused me, just that concept right there, caused me to dive into scripture more and caused me to pursue life differently, realizing that I won't be help for someone unless I mature really far, unless I understand scripture more than I do now. I can't bring them to that place. So I wanted to be that guy who knew more about everything, which I then took that too far and didn't know Jesus at some point and just studied the Bible.
Well, along that lines with
That's really what it was.
When you're dealing with a mental health issue, I think some of the best things we could do as a pastor is pass that along to somebody who actually knows how to deal with mental health
not
issues.
wrong.
Oh,
I
good.
think, I think the pastoral counseling is really, we're talking about, it works, it helps everybody, but there really is a difference between actually clinical counseling, and therapy. And so when somebody's hoarding, I'm honestly, what I can do is I can support you and I can help you walk through this. But my best thing I do is get you to someone who can actually help with your mental disorder, because I am actually not qualified to speak into that. And I think we can walk with people through that and encourage them and get them the right tools. But I think there's a lot of pastors don't tap out soon enough sometimes. No, I got this. We're just going to pray that out of you. I'm like, it's awesome to pray.
And I wonder if some of that is our pride, is a pastor's pride that's there is no issue that God can't handle, which means then there's no issue that I can't handle. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to take care of everything. And you go, oh, dude, it's not your place to.
Yeah.
You give spiritual advice. That's
right.
our role. That's literally, and we will lead people. The funny part is, the real goal of a pastor isn't just leading people. I hear that all the time. Like, a pastor's job is to lead. No, it's to lead people to Jesus.
Right.
You have to have somewhere to lead them.
Yeah.
But then you got to just know your skill set, you know your expertise, and
Know your
stay
lane.
in your lane.
Know
Like,
your
it's
lane.
real simple.
I feel like
Go ahead.
I feel like the lane, and this is I'm young in ministry. This is stuff I'm still learning. It's always been like listen and love, and that's
good.
Be quick to listen, slow to speak. So it really is. I a lot of times don't know what to say, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to listen to them and love them in this, regardless of their circumstances.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned, just because a lot of the demographic here are people in recovery, that's I identify, and it is a weird. I could come from a place of pride, and that's been just from tempering over years with my sponsor and just life, where it's like, if I don't have anything good to say, even if I have something good to say, it really is based on if they ask.
Yeah. And there's a difference between a brush off and a handoff when you're doing ministry.
Right.
You're just I'm not just like trying to get rid of you.
No.
I'm literally saying I want to.
all the time. You're not doing that all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
I want to help, and I'm actually saying I get it. I can't actually. It's like you're organizing anything. Like if you're doing any organization, you prioritize. Your mental health is such a situation here that I'm not really gonna be able to help you spiritually until we actually kind of work through that.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what stinks too is we get to a point, as I just realized, like there's a lot of, I think of things that I made mistakes of in the past where I did try and help too much.
Right.
And it was usually because, my experience is I've worked with so many people in your situation. So I know something.
Right.
And the truth is I didn't get educated in it. I have personal experience in it.
Yep.
And
so
it's-
it stinks.
I want to help, and the best thing that I can do to help is to pass you off to somebody that knows how to deal with mental health. That's
and
the
I'll
best
and I'll
thing we
walk
can
with
do.
you. I'll go with you to that person. Like
100%.
I'm not out.
We're not
I'm just not
leaving
the
you
source
there.
anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's difficult because it doesn't always translate like that
Right.
to the person that you're trying to help.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have to be very intentional to be in it with them.
Yeah.
I just had
noticed-
somebody ask me a legal question this week. And which is fine.
Is it
They're like,
though?
but I was like, well, because it's fine to ask me because I'm like, yeah, call the police.
A penal question.
That was literally like a question like
Oh.
that, and I was like,
good.
Yeah, call back.
Penile question.
It's the-
question. So I was glad that they felt like they wanted to ask me, but I'm like because then you get from me, it's like I'm not qualified. Like
Is this someone who's come to you before for that?
no.
Oh,
And so I just said, and they're good. They're from our church. They're good people, and I
Yeah.
think they just thought this is one person. Maybe I
Yeah.
can ask. And so I mean, like, yeah, I would call the police. Or,
And
get
it's probably
advice
a
that
trick,
way.
and I never mind people asking me things because I realize, you just trust me, and I like that. Like I like that
like a
you-
friend. They're almost asking like a friend instead of a pastor.
Either that or, but I think it also comes from a place of like they look up to you.
Yeah.
It's-
Sure.
Well,
I would ask. Here's the deal. A lot of it is they want wise counsel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're saying, I view you as wise, which
Yeah.
is your first mistake.
They just-
That's your
Not with
biggest
this
mistake.
group.
Yeah.
And so they ask a question, and hopefully we have the wherewithal to know our lane, to know our expertise. Ask me a question about the Bible for crying out like
Yeah.
that. I will answer.
Yeah.
Most everything else, I'm shifting to the other people in our church or the authorities that know what they're doing.
And because of the demographic that we have with addiction and recovery within our church, we have a large recovery demographic in our church. We get a lot of.
that's so fun to look at.
We get a ton of.
Our friend just is peeking in through the door. It's so entertaining.
He just pulled on the door and he just looked at summer podcasting.
He just pulled a Barney
He's like,
Fife.
"Ow!"
The way
He
he's
did.
like,
He was very That's what he did.
Andy.
I had another podcast reach out to me recently and ask me if I would
To
come
stop
on.
sending them also audio
Stop
recordings.
sending them stuff.
We do a
Send them
podcast.
service
We
too.
don't want your crappy
We
podcast.
send a lot of stuff
Okay?
to people.
to come do an episode on addiction and recovery. And I'm like, the initial reach out was super weird because I was like, hey man, that is not my lane. Like I can refer you to our recovery pastors. They're like, no, we want you to talk about it from the perspective of the church.
Yeah.
And because our church doesn't, I'm like, well, still, I don't know that much. I'm like, you want me to talk about how the church has failed historically? You want me to talk about, and so it was the same thing. Like I talked about, and the correlation in the psychological community, in the psychology community is mental health and addiction are treated in the same way.
Right.
A lot of
Right.
times the classifications from
100%.
the EMA came at the same time. And so they're treated almost
treated as a
synonymously.
disease.
Yeah, it's treated as a disease.
Yeah. Yep.
As it should be. And so what I did is I went into doctoral research mode and then presented that from
But
a
you're not
pastoral
a doctor
perspective.
yet, though.
Not yet. Doctoral research.
Thank you, Joe.
Doctoral
Maybe
research.
finish
is
your
the-
research first and get a degree before you start saying
Listen,
that.
uneducated. Doctoral research
I want
is
him to- I want him to use
is
all
the
his
research
venom.
that you do to become a doctor.
And so
I went
that-
into
so you're
that
a doctor
research
now?
mode. Not yet.
Okay.
I'm not yet there. Can you edit that out?
I went into master's research mode.
No, I just meant
I don't have a
that-
master's.
No.
But I'm researching.
No, you could
Like
actually go with a doctoral research too.
Right, because eventually I'm
You
going
can
to
skip your-
Yeah,
Skip
I do
message.
doctoral research every week when I write a sermon.
when
That's
you
right.
research
what I
Ashley.
do.
That's right.
When is
Yeah.
Ashley complete? She's pretty soon.
Well,
right?
actually,
She
Ryan,
actually defends. So she was at a
May.
big fair.
she defends this week, right? Good
2
memory.
weeks, I think.
2 weeks.
Wow.
I do doctored research mode. So just
we
like
know.
pretend like it's.
Documentary.
I've prescribed medication.
That's right. Oh,
know.
good.
Yeah.
That's that doctored research.
Yeah.
You have prescribed.
have.
You are an absolute. You're a pharmaceutical rep. Is
just
what you are.
Right, you are.
Just qualified.
That's right.
With no research.
That's right. Have you had Moonbeam, this strand of marijuana?
Moonbeam.
It's funny. Is in
Great
the same
name.
day, there always some weird name.
that
On the
is a
same
good
day, someone's like been coming to our church, and they've been coming for a while, but they've been coming regularly now again. And they're like, "Hey, can we grab coffee? I have some theological questions." And I was just like, "Oh,
That's the
yes,
best. Yeah,
I'm
I love that.
so excited." They're like, "I just genuinely have questions about theology," and I'm like.
Yeah.
I am so happy. But believe it or not, that's rare, right?
Oh, it is. It absolutely is rare.
So rare. It's mostly, it's life stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because they know that that sounds super arrogant. Is it because they know that we're connected? Like when somebody asks Joe a legal question, are they really wanting Joe's advice? Are they wanting Joe to create a handshake between them and someone that can give them
Leave a comment.
I actually think they just want to feel not alone.
Oh,
Like, I just don't want to be
that's good.
alone in this. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I think it was that simple.
Yeah.
And
Like,
that's for
I'm not alone
me.
in
That's where I'm comfortable at. You know, I'm still learning a lot. When there are situations where there's been multiple recently, actually, now that I think about it, where it's been actually seeking advice, theological advice, really having to do with their identity,
Yeah.
and it's just stuff like, wow, this is neat because this is stuff that I've learned recently in the
neat.
past couple of years.
It's going to
And
have a
it's-
neat
Well,
day.
You can have a- you
I
can
think
have a
that will
neat
happen
day.
more and more for you, Josh, as seriously as you really,
Oh, very much so.
as
Yeah.
you really step into the role of a pastor. You are pastoring your team so well that is overflowing onto other people. You're starting to teach the
classes.
You're
You did
doing those
funeral.
things.
I mean, like, you're
Yeah,
doing
thank
a lot
you.
of teaching.
But,
And
but
I'm-
but what's weird is that isn't my conscious lean. Like I'm not like I'm trying to step and push more.
sure.
of this
But you
pastoral
have the
role.
right mind for it, though.
Right.
Yeah,
Like, you
and
really
I
do. Like,
I also like that. Like I love when I've had a few friends over the years who desperately wanted to be lead pastors. They worked at it, they tried, and I'm like, that's fine. And I'm not saying that's bad, but I like more when somebody's like, I don't necessarily want to do this, but I'm called.
Right.
Like because you realize this is not a path for the light heart. This is not a simple path
you
to
don't-
take.
this is not-
like,
So I've been both of those guys.
Yeah.
And one of those, for me, speaking for me, one of those mindsets was extremely unhealthy.
right.
I want to be a lead pastor. Everything that I did was in an effort
Pursuit
to
of that,
get there.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a pursuit
And then
of that.
you have to ask why.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is it?
But if
that
you grew up in the
made you
church,
want
though,
to do this?
Yeah.
But if you
I
grew up
did.
in the church,
That's where I was
Isn't the
getting.
pastor
Yeah.
kind of like
The celebrity.
really respected? Yeah. Even if like today, in probably since the '90s, it's become more celebrity. But even back in the day, it was a person at minimum. Everybody you knew respected them.
Yes.
So if you wanted respect,
Yeah.
like say that was something you desired in life, you might look to somebody who's a regular figure in life that everybody respected them.
Which I would say that's where the unhealthy part comes from.
Right, because that's not what
Yeah.
you're doing it for.
It's not what you should be pursuing.
And I'm not sure that it started there for me. It definitely got there, but
Yeah.
I think it started for me from a pure place because I saw my pastor. He is the guy that has the ability to help everyone.
It's awesome.
Like
It's good.
he
There's nothing wrong
he
with that.
builds people like nobody ever knew.
It's funny you say there's nothing wrong with that, and I think it is. That's probably the best version of it.
Yeah.
It's the reason why you want to help people is what's wrong. But with sitting
Yeah,
and helping,
right.
but if you're like that makes me good if I help people, that's when it becomes
Yeah,
wrong.
or for me, it was when I got into anti-human trafficking and did a ton of stuff, traveled all over the world, and I realized after a couple years probably that I wanted to be the savior.
Yeah.
Like I had a total God complex. And it was
Yeah.
like, oh, this was, and again, I think it started from a good place of I just want to help people.
Yeah.
And morphed into this, like, they're so grateful to me.
Yeah.
Like I did it. And they look to me as
Yeah.
this. And I went, oh, frick, I got to back away from this. I was being tortured by all the
Mine was I
chaos
wanted to be
from
the
it.
Sherlock Holmes of the Bible. I wanted to
Really?
figure all the stuff out no one could
Really?
figure out. And I'd memorize my sermons and I wanted to be, and I just started with this, I want to teach people the Bible. Then I want to be like, oh no, I want to be brilliant. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to unpack this. I want to know everything.
Well,
I want to communicate it like flawlessly. And it practically destroyed me in 2.5 years.
Isn't that weird? Yeah,
And
because
like
it's
ruined
funny.
me.
It's about that same time frame where it just ruins you.
Like,
what's
I
funny
almost
is-
I thought I wanted to leave ministry at that point.
Yeah.
What's funny is you are brilliant.
thank
And you talk about a guy who memorizes.
Good timing.
Yeah.
He's shiny.
Joe,
He's shiny.
Joe preaches every sermon he does without any notes. Blows me away. You're a bullet point guy. I'm a bullet point guy. We know
you don't
guys
have
that
notes
read.
in your Bible?
The only thing that he has, we've
I'll
talked about
write,
this a
I'll
lot.
write the pronunciation of the Greek
Pronunciation.
because
Of the
it's
Greek,
hard to
yeah, yeah.
remember
Right,
the pronunciation.
Other than that, no notes. Startling to me.
Part of that though is honestly the memory thing. That's just
just with time.
Because I just have this weird memory. That's the only reason why. And honestly, notes can derail me. And I'd almost rather miss out and saying things I wrote down because I write a manuscript. I write everything out.
I don't know what you write.
I know,
Actually.
it's great.
I actually have
You
no
wrote
idea.
It's a
what
lot
you
of
wrote.
there's a lot of
really?
numbers
You've never read
and
his notes?
symbols. No, he talks about
Nobody's
crazy it
read
is.
his notes.
He talks about
They are a little
manic.
They are a little manic.
They're legit
They are-
manic.
You just have to know where to start. You have
That's
to
all
get
it
to
is.
where it says today.
I appreciate
because all of those
I do
pre-notes are
appreciate
just
the
like
headers
his-
and the bullet
It's
points.
just to get me to my
I glossed over it's funny. It was for this last one because we were preaching at the same time. And I was like, oh, I want to see what he wrote since he's before me. I want to do a smooth transition. Maybe 5 minutes at the most of me reading through it. I went, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what he's going to say, so I'll just write my sermon.
all
I
self-talk.
couldn't figure it out.
All
And it still
self-talk
worked.
until today.
And it still
It was
worked.
shocking.
Yeah.
It
It
did
worked-
work.
it worked remarkably
Sunday was so
well.
much fun.
Easter worked the best. The Christian zombies.
Gosh dang, Easter was
I told you that's the
actually
best
really
transition of all time. Handing off to Christian zombies. You handing that to me, I was like,
And the
that's
fact
the
that
greatest
everyone
transition.
cheers that, it's like, that's a bonus.
That was good.
That's such
Yeah.
a bonus.
That's the best ever.
When you get the crowd to cheer, it is
Love our
actually a
people.
fun. I know.
But it was this unhealthy dynamic of just like, I want to be brilliant. And honestly, the breaking of me is where the not memorizing and all that was it just like, it was just bringing me back to my original calls. That's where God got me down to. I'm like, I just want to be used by the Lord to help people feel loved by God.
yeah.
To let them know.
That's it.
Somebody asked me, what's my call? Somebody's like, what's your purpose in life? I forget who just did this to me. And I was like, to communicate that God loves you to the world. And they were like stumped. They didn't know where to go from. They didn't know where to go from there. I'm like what?
It really is
I'm like,
simple.
no, that is it.
Yeah.
Not that I love you, that literally that God loves you, every single person on this planet. That is my goal.
Yeah.
From there, we can build anything, but that has to be the first message.
100%. 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, we sat out right here, the three of us, around a big wire spool, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, the old table. Yeah.
The old
That's
table.
before we had the nice table.
Yeah. And
There's the small one version of it.
Yeah.
There's the little brother.
And you looked at me and you said, there's clearly still ministry inside of you, and we'll help you discover what that looks like if you want to. I had no desire, bro, to be back in ministry at that point. And I'm so thankful for that day. I saw you on a random Facebook video and connected. Hey, is it okay if my buddy comes? Yeah, you didn't tell me it was the co-senior pastor of the church. And then to where we got to today. And it comes from that. Like, I had no desire to be back in full-time ministry.
Yeah.
But you saw something in me. You guys saw something in me. And really, my position here aligns with my purpose, which is to build people.
Yeah.
When you can get your job to identify with your purpose, that resonates with your identity.
Yeah.
Man, that's the sweet spot.
Well, you're in your sweet spot right now.
Well, and I
bro.
think
Absolutely.
being aware
in
of
your
it,
sweet spot.
because it is an action that we take. God is opening doors.
Yeah.
It's just being aware and being open to that. And that was the same thing for me.
I was gonna say, are you in your sweet spot, Josh?
Definitely. I don't think
You shock me more than anybody else because I feel like you have the most potential out of all of us.
100%
Like to do
he does.
anything with music.
Yeah.
And to be like,
I mean, that
want to
hurts
really
my
worship.
feelings, but
I'm gonna miss you most. Just so you know, I'm gonna miss you most of all,
that's
Scarecrow.
a time to plug Ironwood outfit.
Yeah, right.
I have another channel.
It's Lisa and I have been joking lately about the Wizard of Oz, Family Guy, and Dorothy's saying about everybody, and she's like, "I'm gonna miss you, and she goes, "I'm gonna miss you most of all, Scarecrow," and they're like, "What the hell?" Right? That's like leaving a big fart and then walking out of the room,
so
and then she
good.
walks out and they go, "Goodbye, big fart."
that's hilarious. So, what would you tell someone? What advice do you give somebody to get to? I don't want to say where you are, but like to find their spot, to find their.
Are you in your sweet spot, by the way?
I'm close. I don't have enough time in my life, and I don't know if that'll ever change.
What's the thing you know? Besides, is it your other gig?
That was
Yeah.
said like a 4.
I have a massive. I have such a weird passion for so many things, and I've pursued a lot of them, and I've found that, I'm actually really good at these, however many
Lots of things, actually.
And so I have a problem where I'm like, cool, so I want to do them all. So I recently told Ashley, it's funny, I brought it up to my wife. I jokingly was like, oh man, at some point I'm going to need a new computer because like mine is pretty old.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, why? You use your iPad as a computer. You have a keyboard. It works perfect for you. And I'm like, I know, but I'm going to start editing again. And she goes, are you joking me? She goes, dude, you sleep like 2 hours a night and you're working nonstop. When are you going to edit? And I'm like, well, those 2 hours that I'm sleeping. I found 2 hours right there. And
I'm waiting for Chat GPT edit.
Exactly. Yeah. She was like, dude, you're insane. Like, don't pick up something else yet. She's like, I'm trying to look out for you. And I'm like, oh, man. Like, but I have that. And I think that, I don't know if that angst ever goes away. So I don't know. I would say I couldn't be happier in ministry. This is, I think, the best it is. And even I'm exhausted right now too, in like ministry wise.
Church is a lot.
But I'm so happy.
It's the best version of it on the planet right now.
Yeah.
But it's still a lot. I still get home. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I actually say it all the time. Like she's like, how was your day at work? I go, it was churchy.
Yeah, churchy.
Church stuff. But I go, and even when I'm tired, I'm like, but it's the best version of it.
Yeah.
It's never been better than this.
It's
like this
still
is
life-giving
peaking.
even when I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it's taking a lot from me, but it's also giving a lot to me. Yeah.
So how does somebody get to that spot? How does somebody get to the spot where, because I feel like I half pursued it and half fell into it. I feel like you pursued music, but and this isn't an insult, you absolutely fell into the ministry part of it.
Right.
How do is there a prescription? Is there a way for somebody to find their sweet spot, to find their purpose, to follow the will of God, to walk that path?
Four core values, baby.
That's I mean, they're not bad. I mean, they're pretty helpful.
It resonates so much.
Yeah.
I do think that's a huge part of it. Knowing who you are, understanding your identity, determining what you're passionate about.
I love that we start there.
Yeah.
I love that when the countless people come up to us and say, how do I know my purpose? How do I find all that? We don't say because I used to say this in ministry. I remember constantly, just start doing a bunch of stuff and find out the things that you love to do.
Right.
Which is,
there's a place for that, right?
For sure.
That's good.
Right.
But if you don't know your identity first, all of that gets convoluted and actually gets disgusting.
Identity is the why.
Yeah.
It's the why, man. It's like, why? Why? Because if you don't answer the question of like, the why is, I actually don't have to. God loves me. It's finished.
Right.
Otherwise, you start doing all those other things for a why.
And you're looking for acceptance.
Yeah, you're trying to fill that spot.
So it's either the acceptance or that becomes who you are.
That
and you go,
becomes
no,
your identity.
your identity's in the wrong spot. Even if you're doing it for the right reasons, you just want to help people.
Yeah.
Right.
That becomes your identifier and ruins you. And we can't stress that enough. You will get ruined by doing good things.
Right.
100%.
If you do it with the wrong motive.
Like when I was wrestling with identity stuff with God a long time ago, and he's always asking me why. I'm like, well, I want to share Christ with 1 million people and see 1 million people get saved. He's like, cool, why?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, because I want to. He's like, no, why?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, because I want you to like me.
Yep.
Like then it took a while to get to like I want. He's like, but I already like you, so now why?
N.T. Wright says in one of his books, I can't remember which one, in the heart of every man is the desire to be God. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. And then
and then you live it.
It's so thinking about it for a couple months, I was like, oh, I got issues.
Yeah.
I totally want to be.
All of us have
I want to be
different
my own
whys.
God. I want to control my life. I want to be the one who dictates everything that goes on in my life. And again, it usually goes back to, because then God will look at me and go, great job, buddy.
Well done, good and faithful servant.
Good and faithful servant. You worked really, really hard. But then when you read the Bible, you're like, oh, he never says that because I worked hard.
That's right.
That's never the thing.
People don't do a good job of separating theologically of this is my son whom I love, with him I'm well pleased. That's the lens that covers us. With well done, good and faithful servant, it says both are true. They're totally separate deals.
Totally different.
If you can get to is, oh, I am the son he loves because of Christ and he's well pleased with me. Now the well done, there is a well done, right?
Absolutely.
There's crowns, there's all kinds of stuff like little faith, big
literally,
faith,
Sunday,
all kinds of
I
stuff.
preached on Romans 12:1 and 2, and it's the whole thing. It's like, it's a bunch of doing. It's offer yourselves as a living sacrifice. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind. They're doing things, but they come on the heels of 11 other chapters of Paul laying out theology of your identity first.
Right.
And we jump to that and we go, I got to do all this stuff.
Yeah, people don't realize that 1 through 7 is deconstructing your identity.
100%.
8 then tells you what it is. 1 through 7 is a deconstruction.
Yeah.
You know, like you start going through, you're like, oh yeah, I can't be good. You start looking through these, because he basically presents these ideas and then wrecks them. And you're
wrecks
like,
them.
what the heck is happening in this book? And then 8 comes along, it's like, oh, there's therefore no condemnation.
Yeah.
Right, you can't do anything, it's nothing to do with you. But that getting to that identity, then you get down to is God's like, what do you want to do? Because then it really, when you start looking at your purpose, it really does go down to like, if everything is actually finished, if you believe me, and I'm good, you and I are good, and it's not going to change.
Yeah.
It's not going to get better or worse. We got our relationship set. What do you want to do? And then you start going into there, and then what were you made to do? Well,
So do you think that is true across the board?
I do. I do because I think that, like, just looking at Joe's story, you want to see 1 million people saved. Why? So that you like me. I don't think that desire to see 1 million people saved has changed, but I think that the why has shifted from so that you'll like me to because you saved me and what you saved me from.
Or
and
simply,
it's my joy.
I was
Like
gonna
I
say,
didn't know it was my joy. It
that's
actually is my joy.
The facets of abundance and the joy of God. What's the movie Chariots of Fire? The guy who runs.
Oh man, that's a good movie.
So,
gosh,
I remember-
so powerful.
I run so I feel his pleasure.
I feel his pleasure. And I remember when I was early on in sobriety, it was actually Rabab Slab.
Yeah.
He told me, he's like, watch this movie. He says, that's why you play music.
Yeah.
And I remember that was just one of those other pillars that I've built.
Big line for me too.
So now the abundance and the more, you ask like, what's our sweet spot? I'm like, yeah, I do feel I'm content, though it can be overwhelming and tiring at times. In a whole, it really is. I do feel more peace. I feel healthier. I have a clear understanding of myself and others. I have the love for others is growing in ways that I didn't ever care about before.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's not to make God like me more. It's, this is just why I'm here.
This is it.
I think that's why, for me, yesterday, your question yesterday, what was a time you felt like a great Christian, was difficult to answer because it's so nuanced without qualifying it. Like, it makes you sound super arrogant. Like the times that I feel the most connected with God is when I am one-on-one ministry or small group ministry with other people, where you see them capturing part of their own identity through that process of ministry. When I'm building into someone, when Joe is so evangelistic. He lives for evangelism. His heart, his drive, his passion, the books that he writes, the things that he does. The Crocs, maybe not. Those might be from the enemy. But he lives for evangelism. You live for discipleship. I live for building into people, seeing them achieve the next level of their faith. Like, when you're in that moment, that's when I feel the most connected to God. Not anything that's going on inside of me. It's what's actually going through me into others.
Interesting. That's good. I actually feel the most connected to God when I am the most connected to how he sees me. That's when I feel like a good Christian. That I'm actually doing what he wants me to do. Is like, I'm living my life through the lens of how he sees me. And I just starting from there, like, okay, like when my prayer time, he's always bringing me back to, hey, remember, let's see this from my perspective, not yours. That does more wonders for me, because then I literally go out with the most pure motives all the time, because I'm just like, it's just getting me back to, is like, how do I see you? And once I get to that spot, I'm like, so then why, everything I'm going to do from this point forward I don't need anything from anyone. And that sounds weird, but I don't need anything from anyone. So now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
How am I going to handle this? And then it ends up becoming a lot of, and really helps, and really, God's really been speaking to me about, if you really see me the way I, see yourself how I see you, you can have joy in every moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of been the fun. Like, joy's been like the new word for me, being like, oh yeah, I can have joy, and I can enjoy, and I can rejoice. Like, all these different elements where it's just like, because that's my lens.
I'm in joy. I'm just
right.
more,
No, not
more joy.
Let's keep more joys.
I
Yeah.
like it.
That's the message from Sunday. I think the misconstrusion for me is sometimes it can get to a point where it's like we're saying that doing stuff is wrong.
Yeah,
But your
right.
message was, no, there really is. It's not what the church is asking of you. God is going to place something in you that's going to pull you in a direction that makes you want to do something. And for me, kind of thought about, like, what makes you feel most connected with God? One of those times is when I'm being of service to others, just serving other people.
And I think God put that in mankind. I really do, because I know non-Christians who find so much joy and passion in serving others.
Yeah.
And it becomes kind of a piece of who they are.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, like, yeah, that's God. You're literally, you don't even believe in God. That's the beauty of it, is God placed that in every one of us. And I think I don't understand, we've done such a bad job as the church over the decades of complicating the gospel. Yeah. We've complicated discipleship, and we've created these books and these products to help move people. And I go, gosh, it feels like a cop-out when discipleship now for me is you need to just spend as much time with God as possible, and you need to be listening at all times, because he's only speaking love into your life. Then when he calls you to something, he's not calling you to something beyond which you can't bear. Like, think about it. Like, he's calling you to this because you're finally ready, and it's small steps. He doesn't call you on day one to do something insane. He walks you down this path of trusting him, understanding who you are, to serve outside of yourself, to sacrifice of yourself. And when you take those steps slowly, discipleship is me just encouraging. I'm just walking next to you going, man, you're doing such a good job. Hey, be careful of this. This is a pitfall that I know of because I walked that path too. It's so simple, but we want to complicate things so much. And I don't know why. I don't know why we want to make this difficult.
Yeah. And I think part of our human nature too is we want to excel so quickly.
Yeah.
We want to be, thing is when you teach leadership, one of the concepts that I pound on is you can't be so far out in front that people can't see you. So you're not going to lead people that are way behind you. That's very unusual. It takes a very good skill set to do that. Interesting. You have to be, you're just in front, man. Because if they can't see the steps that you're taking, they don't know how to take those steps.
Yeah. So I will say, I did think it was interesting, the God never leave you nor forsake you passage, like that promise, the thing you can kind of stand on, is really one of the best ways we represent Christ and being with people through stuff. Because a lot of times you can't do anything about it, but you can be with them. Like they're going through something, like here's what I got. I'm going to be with you. And
probably
you think
most of the time you can't do anything.
Can't do anything about it.
Virtually all the time.
And believe it or not, that's all they want.
I mean,
they're
prayer.
like happy. And they can pray and be like, but just the idea of like, hey, I'll be with you through this. Like, I don't know why that's so comforting, but it is. It's like that I'm not alone.
Yeah, because nobody wants to be alone.
People feel alone and stuff.
That's
not
it.
Feeling alone in it is huge.
I have a close friend. This is one of those recent situations where he's just had. I don't know why we complicate things. I think because life itself outside of each of us is complicated.
That's true.
But it's this broken world.
Which makes me say, sorry, you can get back to it, but which makes me say that means we should be more simple about it.
And that's what it is.
Life is so complicated.
That's what God does with us. His love is simple.
Yeah.
His message is simple. And that's what I think, and he was actually asking me on this topic, he was saying he's having a tough time. He's witnessed his mom die and his dad die. And it's just really sad. And I've come to really love the guy as a brother. It's like, what do you say? I don't know what to offer you. As he's talking to me, I'm also heeding the spirit, like, what do I say? Right. What do I do? Yeah. Really is just listen and love him. I asked him if he's been to counseling and stuff like that. Hey, man, I just want you to know, like, I don't understand 100%. I can't understand because I haven't lived that experience, but I'm with you. Yep. It was one of those moments where that's all I could do. And it's
huge.
And I think it is because we want to quantify as like, this has to be enough to make a change. And I feel like I should make a change in this person's life, when really just being there over time, consistency, being there.
And having a space to let them let it out, right? Because there's something about just kind of talking stuff through. Like, even though we're not therapists, like I was going through something.
You're a sounding board.
A sounding board's huge.
You're not offering anything back even.
And that's being of service.
And let somebody vent.
Yeah.
To sit there. It's funny. I remember the story of Job is so interesting. He's got like the 3 worst friends in the world who just give the worst advice, and his wife is terrible. Mm-hmm. But she does one thing that was amazing. And it says that she just sits by his side. And I'm like,
that's good.
When she sat there and just was with him, I was like, that's all people want.
I kid you not. He just continued to quote Job.
Seriously?
But he was focusing on the negatives of that.
Sure.
And I said, well, it's totally.
I feel like Job. I said that's good, and every time I say that's good, I hear Trey yelling from behind the drums. That's good.
It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Or from the crowd. That's good.
I also feel like I'm doing something well when I hear Trey yell. That's good. I'm always like, that was God.
Okay.
That was God.
I had somebody check in on me. I was going through some tough stuff a year or two ago, and they just would call periodically and say, hey, how you doing? And just let me talk. And they're like, hey, I can't do, and even said like, I can't do anything about this. I'm like, believe it or not, you don't need to.
Yeah.
Like, you just ask me how I'm doing. I don't know why, but it helps. You know what I mean? I just feel not alone.
Knowing that somebody cares.
That's it.
I've been feeling like I need to. That's funny that I've been wanting to do that more for people. That's not my
instinct.
Yeah, that's not. It's not very comfortable for me. I am a fix-it guy.
Yeah,
I'm a fixer. I joke about even in woodworking. Like literally, Ashley jokes about it all the time. Woodworking is just problem solving. It's my favorite thing to do. I just want to solve problems. I want to fix things. That's my innate reaction. So it's difficult even when somebody will say like, "Oh man, this is going on." And I'm like, "Oh, you see why? Like how you can get out of that, right?"
Exactly.
And most of the time they're like, "You know what, dude?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Oh, sorry."
I've
So
had
it's
that.
difficult, but I felt lately that I need to do that more with people and call random friends who live out of the state and I've lost touch with, but just how are you? And I don't need to give you advice. I just need you to know that somebody's thinking about you, that God's laid you on my heart. That's it. Like that's enough.
That's it.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I've had to quantify conversations with Steph at times because I have that drive
Yeah.
too, like especially for her. I want to fix everything.
Oh, so bad.
And so she'll be telling me a story. I go, wait, just so I'm clear, is this a I'm listening or you want me to fix it?
Ashley and I it started that probably 6 years ago.
Yeah.
We had that conversation, and I was like, a lot of the times I didn't ask, so she's bringing me a problem. I thought for 10 years of our marriage, I'm like, you're bringing me a problem to fix it, right? Why else are you bringing me a problem?
Yeah.
This is
She goes,
broken,
You've
Ryan.
come to the right person.
Yeah, and so
You're holding a hammer. I need a nail and a hammer. I want to show it to you.
right.
No?
And
It's right here. It's
I
right here.
had to ask, and it was so funny to get to that realization in marriage where I go, oh, and she would say like, no, I just need you to be there for me, and I'm like, so don't be offended. And it was a very explicit conversation. It was, so is it okay then for me to just, because I'm too stupid. I really am too dumb to know which one I'm supposed to do.
Just tell me.
Right.
So I had to ask, and she's great with it. She's like, and sometimes she'll even start with it. I just need you to listen to you. There's nothing for you to
Steph
fix.
shifted to that
I
too.
go, thank you.
Yep.
But Lisa and I are at this place now where I just realized she never wants me to fix it.
It's just never a thing.
So I never venture advice.
Well, what's funny is I don't think it
Every once in a
necessarily
while.
comes from just a place of pride. I love you. I care about
Oh,
you. I want
sure.
the best for you.
Yeah.
And it's just how we operate. Just natural.
Anybody who starts off with "Here's what you need to do," I want to punch in the face. So
Well,
just so you know,
you know what,
I
Joe?
don't
Here's what you
like
need
that
to do.
either.
It's a good thing you
Yeah.
can't reach your face.
That's
You
right.
need to-
So like when you're just like, yeah, blah 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 is going on, and then they're like, yeah, here's what you need to do. I'm like, even me, I realized, oh, it's not just our wives. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that opening, because then I'm feeling like you're just waiting to tell me what to do. Are you actually listening to me?
That is tough. What's that line from Fight Club? That are you listening? Or are you just waiting for
talk.
silence so that you can respond? I'm like, you see that with people,
Yeah.
Like, and I think we've all done that at times where it was just like, I have something to add. I have something to add,
Right.
As opposed to
Mostly
the
on
heart
this
that
podcast.
just listen. Yeah, for sure.
Should we end with something fun, like a Reddit question?
Yeah,
do a
let's do it.
fun-
Let's end with this one. What is the best fake band from a movie or a TV show?
Oh, Wedding Singer, 100%.
Interesting.
Yeah?
I had nothing. I had
Come
nothing
on,
right off the bat.
Wedding Singer. When he starts messing up the words,
That's pretty good.
Throwing in the
Pretty
F
good.
word, that was one of the funniest. I rewound that
That's
100
pretty
times.
good.
But
it
it's
was so good.
all bull. And
Why'd you stop?
I'm actually a fan of the Boy George character, where they go, do it again. And like one guy now is like, what? No, come on, no. Because they all basically dealt with the first version of it, singing it
Right.
again. Best fake band. I would say when Squidward leads the band in SpongeBob.
Bubble Dome.
It was pretty good. Where Squidward gets a win. It's like the one win in SpongeBob.
That's the one,
That's
yeah.
a good example.
It's like the one win he ever gets. So I don't know. That was pretty good. And they got the electric guitar.
I have never
Pretty good.
seen. I've seen 1,000.
You've never seen the Bubble Dome?
I've never seen a full episode of SpongeBob.
Oh man, it's so good.
It actually is genuinely funny. I've seen him again thousands of clips,
That's
but
the
never
is
seen an
mayonnaise
episode.
an instrument?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good one.
They have a lot of lines.
You
There
do
are so many
a
memes.
pretty good Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I empathize the most with that character. I live under a rock.
Patrick's best moment is when he's going off to work when they're raising a clam together, and he comes back and he's exhausted every day. And SpongeBob's like, "You're not helping me with the baby," and he's like, "I've been working all day." And he opens up his briefcase and it's full of donuts. he's just going to his house and eating donuts while SpongeBob is raising the kid.
What do you think, Floyd? Best fake band from a movie or TV show?
Hard to beat Wedding Singer.
Can you name any other ones? How about that? I don't have a reference point.
So
it's hard to think of it.
It's wild that this came up because we just watched Scott Pilgrim last night.
Oh yeah.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah.
Theirs was their band was called Sex Bomb, but there were other bands that they had to have to fight.
Yeah.
To win the love of the character. But I think without that reference from last night, it's the band playing the wedding at the end of Hangover when he's like, "I'll take you to the candy shop." Remember that? And
Yeah,
it's like
good. I just watched Hangover, so
yeah.
yes. it's
So
good.
that's
He's
I
pretty
don't-
great. He's actually in a few of those movies.
He is.
How about Ave Maria by Will Ferrell at the end of Step Brothers? The mother effing Catalina.
The Catalina wine mixer.
How is Step
We
Brothers?
need one bleep in this episode.
When I first saw Step Brothers, I thought it was fine. I thought it was funny. Second time, I was like, okay, this is pretty
It's a
funny.
gem.
And that it's every time I watch it,
just
it
keeps
gets
growing.
better.
It just keeps
I don't
growing.
know of many movies like that.
I was watching Cops.
Dude,
it's
that
so
so
many good
watched?
lines.
have you seen the
You've never
outtakes?
seen it? You've never
Oh,
you've never
shoot.
seen Step Brothers?
Never
Do you
seen
watch comedies
My
at all?
favorite
by the way?
I
character-
do. I watch. Not
What's
a lot.
funny? What's a funny comedy? Sorry, he said he didn't see Step Brothers. I had to
no.
pause
It's
here.
a tangent. That's worth it.
So I like the Kevin Hart movies because Kevin Hart I think is hilarious. I love Will Ferrell. I don't know why,
What's,
but I've
what's
never.
what Kevin Hart movie?
What kind of movies?
Die
funny?
Hard was funny.
Okay, you
That was
liked,
recent.
You
Yeah.
liked his
Yeah.
worst one.
Yeah.
Good
it
job.
Was, it was funny. Anything that Kevin Hart and The Rock do together.
So
I'm
what
in.
was that?
Central Intelligence.
Central
Central
Intelligence?
Intelligence.
I actually did think that was funny.
Wasn't
That's
that?
good.
I thought
other,
The Rock
I thought it was other
hilarious in
guys.
that.
Those aren't real. Those aren't.
Oh
like,
no, the other guys was Marky
Will
Mark,
Ferrell
Mark
and Mark-
Wahlberg
And Will Ferrell.
Oh,
but Dwayne
gosh.
The Rock was in it. He had him and his
Yeah,
partner.
and Samuel L.
Jackson.
Jackson.
And they jump off the roof.
But they
was
die like they die so
shockingly
early in the
funny.
movie.
the bushes. Aim for the bushes.
Were
Okay.
you not when that first
Amazing.
happened? I'm like, that can't be real.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So my thought is with funny movies, they have to have a million quotable lines.
Yep.
Like, so if it doesn't have a million quotable lines, it's almost not a comedy, even if it is.
You're the most movie line quote guy that I know.
Maybe him more.
No, you're more.
No, you're more.
Yeah. It might be because I spend most time.
Yeah,
most of my time.
yeah. So, okay, I can't think of any other fake bands.
No, that's
fake
good.
bands is
Just
I,
one answer.
I don't
That's
really,
good.
I really don't even.
What is
what's
that?
on there? What if the
Yeah, I was
answer's
going
on
to say,
there?
do they have some
I
good
think
ones?
it's funny that Josh said, "Oh, it's nice that this randomly popped up when he searched fake bands." Because I watched a movie
It was
last
one of the
night.
questions on the.
Pilgrim versus the World.
There's
What
a
was
movie
that?
called.
Oh, Spinal Tap.
Oh, this is Spinal Tap is one of the
Yeah.
greatest
I don't know.
movies
It's
of
like
all time.
hieroglyphics.
There's a movie
It's
called
so
Streets
weird.
of Fire where she sings the song in it, and it's an action movie. It's actually really great if you haven't seen it. It's a.
Power line from a Goofy movie.
I've never. What are
Do you
talking
remember
about?
a Goofy movie? Power line.
What's
He
a
was
Goofy movie?
I felt like you were speaking Hebrew just now. I got like one word out of the,
the
whole
cartoon.
sentence you just looked at
the
me.
cartoon movie. Max and Goofy want to take Max on a vacation because Max is getting in trouble.
I'm so sorry. I asked.
Powerline
Yeah,
is
I
like
don't
this.
know.
Is this the
he's like a
generation gap?
he's like a Prince Michael Jackson hybrid, and like
Michael
this.
Jackson hybrid.
Yeah, like
Would be fantastic.
disco pop like icon. Oh, it's such a great example.
I'm
Whoever-
into a Prince Michael Jackson hybrid.
You know what's funny?
30
but I
references.
bet you there is. I just thought most movies have a fake. Like a lot of movies will have a fake band in them, especially
Can't even-
comedies.
Can't even think of it.
But I can't think of 'em.
Maybe Jack Black and his School of Rock
Oh,
as a band.
yeah,
Rock
that's
was
pretty
good.
good.
That's
School of
they're
Rock.
Dude, that was actually a really great reference because they were those were all
Kids.
prodigy musicians too.
Yeah,
Every
they
one of
were-
those kids.
They were all legit.
Dude, and that movie is so good.
It is. So
I
good. It's a
love
classic.
that movie.
Well,
I
actually,
enjoyed it.
Sex Bomb is on here. That's the Scott Pilgrim's band.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's at, and then at the very end, they ended up getting a contract with the last evil ex-boyfriend, the head producer.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're Sex Bomb. We're here to make money and sell out. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's actually funny.
How about Sexual Chocolate from Coming to America?
Ooh,
Oh, yeah, that's
great.
good.
That's another movie, man. I was young.
Wasn't there a
when I-
sequel in the last
There
year?
was. Sexual
Yeah.
Chocolate came
Yeah.
back
Did you
and did
see
another.
it?
Yeah.
Was it good?
It's fine. It's nostalgic.
Yeah, it's
those are all
nostalgic.
those like nostalgic. Like
Just
we talked
all the
about
references to
we
the
talked
one.
about what was it? The cartoon, The Incredibles.
Oh, yeah.
It's nostalgic.
Yeah.
Like you can't not like the movie.
Blues
you're having.
Brothers.
Oh,
That's got to
Great
win.
reference.
Yeah.
That's a great reference.
Well, Blues Brothers was a real band.
Yeah.
That's they were like, dude. And honestly, I still listen to their what's the song where he does the whip during the song.
Oh yeah, that's with Aretha Franklin. Does he do that?
Dude, I don't know, but they
They're
were
because they're in
Belushi
a
was a
shop.
serious
Yeah.
musician.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal.
He's a character.
Anything
man.
else? Tough question actually.
That
It is,
was.
but honestly, again, we named
It
a
was
lot.
fun.
It's kind of
yeah.
fun to
The
hear.
surprise
Yeah,
reaction.
yeah.
I, literally, when he first asked and you said, you're a
Wedding singer.
I was like, well, I'm out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else.
No, but when you were mentioning comedies, like what is one of your one go-to comedies? Not necessarily like the best. It's just one of like the first comedies you've seen. Something you always go to. Is it Step Brothers?
The go-tos have gotten old now. I don't think they're as funny anymore. Like I can't watch Billy Madison and laugh as hard as I used to.
No.
Like I enjoy it, but
Sure.
I
Ace
haven't-
Ventura probably still pretty funny.
We mentioned it the other day. Is Tommy Boy that I want to go back and watch
Yeah,
again?
okay.
Because Tegan hadn't seen like any Chris Farley movies, and I was
Did she
She's
not
so-
even know who Chris Farley
doesn't know
was?
Chris-
very,
she doesn't know
I was
Chris
very
Farley.
angry.
It is shocking, actually,
Yeah.
when you're like, oh, I've never watched Karate Kid. You're like, what?
You know what I
You've never
hate?
seen
And this
Karate
is a
Kid?
realization that it was a few years ago. I think was the first time it happened. I don't, and this is the sad truth. I don't feel like there is a large age gap between like Josh and Tegan and a bunch of the people in our church, and it's massive.
It's
20 years.
humongous.
and it's so funny because I'm like, yeah, we're the same. name, and
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Chris Farley, Tegan, she's like, I'm 25.
The
and I
problem
actually
is-
go, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do because I don't feel that way. I feel.
And the problem
like a
is,
kid.
that for me, the only bridge in that gap is most of the stuff I watched with my grandparents. So it'd be
yeah, you have to have somebody older in your
Well,
life.
you have reference. You actually
Red
reference
Knobs and
a ton of old
broomsticks
stuff.
and Matlock. There's still a gap.
and having older siblings or parents,
Airwolf.
if you watch TV with them, you know what I
Sure.
mean? Like you saw that stuff. I've actually made my kids for every birthday, my birthday, I make them watch 80s and 90s action movies every birthday.
Die Hard.
They've seen Die Hard. They've seen all the low quality Sylvester
Yeah.
Like
Stallone.
I was going to say,
Cobra.
what are they?
They've seen Cobra.
Oh, Cobra's terrible.
I showed them Cobra, Commando,
RoboCop?
RoboCop. I don't know if we watched RoboCop because I mostly have been working my way through Jean-Claude Van Damme,
Oh,
Steven
nice.
Spielberg,
Did you do Schwarzenegger
Steven
stuff?
Seagal. I mean,
Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
What?
The
All Schwarzenegger was first.
The train of Schwarzenegger
Yeah.
movies.
Total
Commando.
Recall.
Schwarzenegger
Recall. Terminator.
and Stallone were first. So I just went
Dude,
through all those.
Rambo.
Schwarzenegger. They recently did the deep fakes again, where they had Schwarzenegger
They're
doing
so
different
good.
characters. They're uncanny how good they
I don't
are.
even know how they do it.
But
The deep fake on Napoleon Dynamite where he's Uncle Rico.
was that not hilarious?
That's so good.
I sent it to you.
Oh, I didn't.
I
watch it.
sent it to everybody.
It's
It's
crazy.
Schwarzenegger as Uncle Rico sitting on the porch talking about how far he can throw it,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah,
Arnold.
I didn't get the reference.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I
it's
watched it.
unbelievable.
Didn't get the reference.
You don't know
You didn't.
Napoleon Dynamite?
So Napoleon Dynamite's one of those.
That's probably one of the better scenes in Napoleon Dynamite.
No, see,
Watch me throw it over this
When
mountain.
you talk about quotable lines, the entire movie is
It's so quotable.
is a guilty pleasure of a comedy for me.
Yeah. I hated Napoleon Dynamite when I first saw it.
Well, just
Sure.
we're friends.
I didn't kind
Lisa
of like it.
sold me
I
on it.
hated it.
Everybody kept quoting it. I actually slowly came around to it, and now I love it. But I did not. I'm watching. I don't get it.
I wouldn't do the quotes when it
not
first
funny.
came out. Like I wouldn't do them. I hated the movie so much. Everybody was walking around acting like Napoleon Dynamite, and I was like, "Our culture's falling
Give me
apart.
some
Like,
tots.
The world is over."
Gosh.
And then
Do the chickens
it
have
took
large
years
talons?
too. It took literally years
took
before,
time.
and I was like, "All right, I get it now."
Yeah, it's funny.
It's a combination of a lion and a tiger. Pretty much my favorite animal for its skills and magic.
Yeah.
It's pretty epic.
yeah,
but it
it
took
is.
me a minute. There's a bunch of actually some of the funnier movies took me a minute. I don't know why. Billy Madison, I liked right off the bat, but
Okay.
So I Married an Axe Murder took a minute. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
So I had for years. Oh, So I Married an Axe Murder. I think is a
I think that's
work
one of Mike
art.
Myers' best movies.
Yeah, me too.
Brilliant.
I think it's stupid of me, and it's like a dumb thing that I've completely gotten over. But when stuff was mainstream back in the day, I didn't like it just because it was mainstream.
You just wanted the cool. You're
Yeah.
one of the outsiders.
I want
Outsiders.
I hated it. If everybody liked it, I was like, well, it's not good. And then there came this point where I was like, well, no, it's good. Everybody likes it. It's obviously good. And then I just gave that up because I'm like, oh, if it's funny, it's funny. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Do you have a go-to Floyd with your comedies?
I think this conversation has made me realize my ADD is worse than your guys's because I don't sit through movies well. Yeah, most of my comedy that I think go-to comedies, I think of like TV shows.
Like sitcoms.
Yeah, sitcom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So which sitcom?
Sitcoms are brutal.
Frasier, Seinfeld.
Wow.
You went with Frasier.
I love Frasier.
Which, by the way, is one of the best shows ever.
And then scrambled
But it's
eggs.
just weird to me
It's
that
not
you went
comedy to
there.
me.
I
I
love
loved
it.
it. I watched every
love it.
episode. It's
Have
not-
you
I don't
seen
think
it
it's funny.
recently?
No.
Not very good.
watching
No.
it right now.
Are you really?
What's
I
it
really
on?
am.
What's it streaming on?
It's on Paramount.
Oh, do you get Paramount?
I got
Joe?
it free with.
Oh, okay.
Free with Walmart.
I called
told
Joe
me.
on this recently because
He's right. I said
every time he mentions Paramount, he has to say that it's free.
Yeah.
That he gets it for free, and I'm like, dude, nobody needs to.
The only reason I
I'm
have it
in
is 'cause
financial
it's free.
responsibility mode right now. So
Yeah.
it seems like
Yeah.
I'm not being irresponsible.
You're in three people in college mode.
Oh, I was gonna say I was like 3. Yeah,
Lisa.
it is 3.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a go-to, Ryan? I don't. I genuinely don't.
I'm more of a go-to action guy, so I rewatch.
I will rewatch action all day long.
I just it came up on my feed because they're remaking Blade,
Are they really?
and I'm so excited. I
Who's
thought
cast as
Blade
Blade?
1 and
What?
2.
who are they casting as Blade?
I know you'll know him. I can't remember who it is.
Okay.
Oh,
I can't remember.
I think
his
I've
name.
seen it, but I can't pronounce his name.
Yes, it is a difficult name, but I got so excited because the Blade 1 and 2 are the two of the best. 3 was rough.
Steven Dorff in Blade 1 is amazing.
I think Ryan Reynolds in Blade 3 was it 2 or 3?
Yeah.
So that was 2, if I'm not mistaken. Ryan Reynolds and who was the girl? Somebody with like a name.
Was it Jessica Biel?
It was Beale.
Yeah.
They were so good together. The 3 of them were so good.
Mahershala Ali.
Okay, cool. I'm all right with that.
that's
I'd rather be somebody because I don't want to picture anybody else, and like I'd rather be somebody I don't know than trying to be like, why is Michael
but
B.
you know
Jordan
him.
Blade?
No, you know him. He's a stud.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know him. He's actually in a great drama I just saw.
What's funny is it's weird because he looks a little bit like Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
They have the poster. I saw the main poster of him and the way he's lit and everything. I actually thought it was Wesley Snipes when I first saw it. And then I was like, oh, no, it's not. So I got excited
Yeah.
because
Because Wesley
Blade
Snipes
with
is like
today's-
90.
Yeah, well,
And
yeah.
and still-
he's Blade.
still
I
70?
don't care what you say.
will
He's
always
Blade.
be
That dude
Blade.
is Blade.
Always.
This guy right there that they have cast is going to have to work out because he's a pretty thin dude. He's a fit dude, but he's probably going to get
Yeah,
yoked for
Blade was
this.
jacked.
And what's funny is if it's your job, that's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
You get a
Yeah.
dietitian, you
And
get
a
a chef,
trainer, all
you
of a
get
sudden,
a
next thing you know,
trainer.
you are
Jeez.
yoked.
It's the same with the dude who plays Adam Warlock in the new Avengers stuff.
Yeah, the kid who just
He is a slight young man
Bulked up.
until he got that role and he's tanked.
I watched all the like the developments. He posted like the phases of getting built. He is so yoked right now.
Dude,
It's crazy.
it's awesome. He
all
looks
that
great.
trend.
Yeah.
It's great.
All that what?
The trend, the steroids.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't
No?
used to deal drugs.
Oh. On that note, thanks for joining us, guys, on You Won't Hate It. I'm Josh.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Floyd.
I'm Joe.